YouTube. I know you're may not be joining in at the same time everyone did on Twitch, but don't worry, not important. You know why? Because I keep forgetting to fucking share this shit. There we go, Google Chrome, why not? You fucking piece of shit. Okay, so don't worry, we'll still be... Dear God. Yes, I get it, don't worry. Fucking Twitch, I don't give a shit right now. Let's go to twitch.tv/me. Well, actually, it's twitch.tv/SupremeAnime. Threes for ease. There we go, that's muted. So don't worry because we just need to share this on Twitter and Facebook. God. Alright, and then we'll share it on Facebook. Alright, and with all that being said and done, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. So, we're going to be continuing going along and... Yeah. Just... So I've started focusing on, you know, growing crops and stuff. Just because I don't want to have to rely on nothing but, like, making sure I, you know, have a farm for cows and stuff. When I could just do, like, a bunch of carrots. I mean, let's be honest. If I could, you know, go mining, have like a stack of carrots with me, and then have more growing, so then I just come back to pick up some more carrots and stuff, blah blah blah, plant them, do all that, who gives a fuck. Kind of reaction. I mean, I swear to God if... Okay. Because you guys saw how I reacted to that one villager that was like, oh, I'm going to break apart all of your work and I'm going to plant beetroots for some reason. I'm like, no, you're not, okay? This is my farm. I decide what grows because bigger stick diplomacy. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically, oh, you know, think about it like this, okay? Imagine you're the leader of a country, okay? You're a well-developed country, okay? Then you go and you find this other country that has a lot of resources and a lot of stuff that you want. But, you know, there are some pesky people living there. They have their own form of government, blah, blah, blah. Just like these people, okay? This is their own village. I'm an outsider, and I'm like, you know what? I want what they have. So bigger stick diplomacy means that because I'm stronger in might, I basically take all that they have. Now, if they don't follow by my rules, then the simplest solution, you know, just kill them and the rest will follow. Or maybe I have this all backwards and I'm supposed to, you know, treat these people nicely and then maybe they'll just listen to what I have to say. But I feel like this is actually the better solution. It's like, what, you want me to be nice to them because then they might listen to what I have to say? I mean, I guess I could do that, but I mean... Where would we be if everyone listened? And everyone was nice to each other? Do you think we would have had all the success that we have now? I mean, think of all that exists because humanity is full of a bunch of pieces of shit. I mean, yeah, we have good times, we have bad times, but... I mean, the bad times is what really developed us to eventually get more, you know, positive and good moments. Which people may go, oh, well, that's not true. No, it's completely true. I mean, let me even take things that aren't really political, and I can go ahead and turn those bad instances into really positive ones. So, professional wrestling has always been seen as a thing that, you know, it's not a sport, because it's, you know, it's a scripted story, even though they do perform, like, they are agile people that do need to be staying physically shape and everything. But anyways, that's not the point. The point of the matter is people go, oh, it's not a real sport, blah, 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 this, blah, blah, that. All those people can go suck a big one. Because if I actually attempted to do what they do as a career on a regular basis, and I didn't try it on a regular basis. I tried it once. Okay? And I was so exhausted from the amount of exercise that I had to do. I was like, this is not worth it. I mean, there's a good reason they get paid millions of dollars. Maybe. Okay, well, for our entertainment, they get paid millions of dollars. Let's be realistic about this one. They're not getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and basically just perform. But, anyways, everyone's very familiar with the... Well, everyone that knows a lot about wrestling, or even a little bit, is very familiar with the wrestler known as Eddie Guerrero and the Guerrero family. Because they are not only the biggest wrestling family in Mexico, but the biggest wrestling family in the world. This is not a joke. They were huge, and they still are huge. Even though Eddie Guerrero passed away, and it was a really sad event, what he did really changed... What he did actually changed wrestling as a whole for all of WWE. They implemented, because his death, his heart attack, was linked with drug use. They actually got more serious when it came to wrestlers using any form of drugs, whether it's performance-enhancing steroids or whatever. And, I mean, some people say, oh, well, they've gotten to a point where it's, like, so strict that even misfiling paperwork can get them banned. Suspended, which is true. It can get them suspended. But, I mean, they're more worried about, you know, keeping them safe. And, yeah, it may seem like a whole, you know, PR stunt and everything. But even if that's the case... This drug system wouldn't have been implemented without the death of Eddie Guerrero. And same when it came to concussions. That wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for the whole incident with Chris Benoit. Now, even if you're not a wrestling fan, you know about what happened with Chris Benoit. You know how he killed his wife and son, and then hung himself. It brought into light about concussions and they take it very seriously. And if it wasn't for that instance, they might not be taking it as seriously as they do now. Now, if you want to talk about like political things, I mean, we can easily come up with some very serious things that have really shaped the course of humanity. Like, for instance, slavery. Slavery was huge throughout not only just American history, but throughout history entirely. And I'm not saying, slaves built the pyramids, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that is a myth. The people who actually worked on the pyramids were actually respected as much as the pharaohs themselves. Believe it or not, if you were one of those people that died while working on a pyramid, you got your own tomb next to the pharaohs. If you were a slave, they wouldn't deal with it because, you were property. You would do it. You did it because you were forced to do it. Now, am I saying that these people that worked on the pyramid made a lot of money? No, they didn't. They were paid, and they were also respected for what they did. I don't know how low I am. Okay, I'm at Y67. I can get lower. I think about Y14 is where they have about 15 to 16, 15 to, God, where is it? I think 16 to 11. I don't remember. Wish I didn't close Google Chrome. But anyway, and if we're talking about serious events that happened, I mean, slavery, like I said, was one. I mean, it really defined, changing. Originally, when slavery was still a thing, Southerners wanted them to count towards votes in, the Electoral College, and because then they would have more say than the North. And they just wanted, the more votes because more population means they get more, seats in the House of Representatives, blah, blah. They get more of a drawing power, and they can keep slavery a thing, well, back then, pretty much forever. And the North didn't want them to count because, remember, slaves were considered property. So why would you give property a right at all? And yeah, it did come to the whole 2/3. I shouldn't remember what it was. It was something. It was some weird fraction. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it basically said, this many slaves counts for, this many amount of people. It's a slave is not going to count as a full person, but I mean that slowly evolved into a moment where, when the Civil War started, Abraham Lincoln would later, when it comes to his re-election, he would want slavery to be overturned because giving this war a reason for people to fight for would get him re-elected. Am I saying that his decision was right? No, I mean, if you were going to make it all about slavery, you should have made it all about slavery to begin with. Instead, you originally made it out for, to unify the country back together, which is a good reason for, to basically explain why we're at war with ourselves. But, I mean, there's so much you could have done. And with that, once, slaves got their freedom, they didn't get a whole bunch of rights. But, I mean, you gotta start somewhere, people. Okay? Well, put that there. But anyways, like I said, you gotta start somewhere. And it eventually would lead on to the civil rights movements, people marching, even people getting wrongfully imprisoned because of just the color of their skin. Now, there is literally a lot more examples. Like, for instance, people are very familiar with World War II and all the atrocities that took place. Even the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were huge historical events. Now, I can't say that any one country was wrong. Now, here's the reason for this, okay? Because remember, when you're thinking about evil, you're thinking what's evil compared to what you believe in, okay? Now, different people, when they were fighting for their country, they were thinking that what they were doing is right. So, I mean, we have to take that in consideration. People look at their country and they're very full of, the pride of where they come from and blah, blah, blah this, blah, blah, blah that. And am I saying not to have pride in your country? No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that if you're thinking, oh, well, this other country, what they're doing is very wrong and stuff, I mean, you're pretty much calling the pot calling the kettle black. It's that entire scenario. And with the atrocities of World War II, it literally defined, war crimes. What is a war crime? Without it, chemical weapons wouldn't be illegal. Nuclear weapons wouldn't be illegal. It literally gave people who were captured in war their own rights. If you were captured by an enemy, you still have your own sets of rights. They can't torture you, and they can't kill an unarmed person. There are even different parts, of the category of different people and stuff. And where would you fall under? But yeah, I know this is getting really dark, so I'm going to move on to... I'm just going to finish it off with basically one last statement. I'm going to end it off here. Not the stream, I'm just talking about, like, the entire discussion. But, anyway... I'm going to go ahead and just make another pickaxe. Why not? But anyways, when it comes down to it, I want you guys to realize that all these dark events that take place in history, I mean, without them, we really wouldn't define where we are today. Yeah, the good things might propel us a little bit further, and might propel us, some distance in the future. But when it comes down to it, all the dark and negative things that we've been through as humanity, and I'm not talking about as like single entities or a single company or a single country, because that's not what I'm talking about. Like, a single incident that can be so bad it really redefines humanity as a whole is something that we should be proud of. We shouldn't be proud of the atrocities that we've committed in the past, but we should be proud of where we evolved when it came to those atrocities. Some people may, go, oh, well, I guess that's just another way of saying that you support, Hitler and Stalin. I'm like, no. I don't support them at all. I'm just saying that without people like them, we wouldn't have been able to redefine different laws and actually create laws for war. Without it, the I don't know if the countries would have, if the countries in Europe would have came together and created the European Union. I don't know if that would have happened. There would be, I believe, less countries because they did break apart Germany and create more countries out of it. But even organizations came from it, like the Red Cross, which is a big one. And then you obviously have the Geneva Convention. Everybody knows about that. And if it, like I said, if it wasn't for all these events, we would be, now some people might not agree, but I'd say we'd be less unified as a whole. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to something else. Because, I mean, like I said, I don't really like talking about like all these really dark topics on streams. Because I feel like there's not a lot I can do about it. So, I don't know, I feel like that lack of power, that lack of control that comes with it, really makes me hate it even more. It's not the fact that everything's like all dark and morbid and messed up, because I can learn to live with that. It's just, I feel like I don't have any control over, because I don't like talking about history entirely. It's one of those things that, because, like I said, I have no control over, you know, how the story goes, or how to really tell the story without leaving out important details. Because remember, it's a historical event. It happened. We can prove that it happened. And without being able to tell the story in a way that is not only positive, but informative, it's, I don't know, it kind of bothers me. And that's why I always hated taking a history class. Was because, like, okay, we're going to learn about all these very dark times. And I really shouldn't have, I guess, gone into history classes thinking that, because it just made me hate it even more. Because every time I always compared it to, like, other classes that I liked. Like, for instance, I loved science. Science and math were, like, my two favorite subjects. And if I spend the entire time comparing, you know, science, if I compare like stuff that I like to stuff that I don't like, then I'm not getting anywhere. And I can tell you why I like science and math. The reason I did was due to the fact that I saw them as very progressive. We were taking what we know and we were moving and advancing in life, while history was studying the past. And yeah, there is this very famous saying, you know, if you don't study history, if you fail to study history, you're doomed to repeat it, which is very true. But I feel like more can be said for people who spend time studying history. They'll doom themselves to repeat it, but the only difference is they'll try to do it better. Alright, well, with all that being said, I'm going to end off the very first episode for YouTube. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you have, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're at all new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And the comment question of the day is, what is your favorite class, either right now in school or when you were in school? So if you're in school, what's your favorite class? If you already graduated school, what was your favorite class? And you can count any grade or college, it doesn't matter. Okay? Just leave your answers down in the comments below, and I will be reading and responding to them. But yeah, and I'll also see you guys in the next video.